Ever wish you had, like, I don't know, an alien's perspective on problem solving?
Wow.
Well, today's the day we get a little closer.
Okay.
We're diving into implementing the McKinsey problem solving method on Planet Z.
Wow.
It's a guidebook, right? But it was written by this very enthusiastic alien, Zenson Tran.
Okay.
And get this, it was for aliens only. Luckily, we got our hands on a copy.
It's certainly a unique find, I'll give you that.
Eh,
But you know what's interesting?
What's that?
Underneath all the humor of an alien teaching us how to solve problems,
Yeah.
there's actually some really solid advice in there.
Right.
The McKinsey method, and I know that might sound a little businessy,
Little bit, yeah.
but it really is a practical framework that anyone can use.
Totally.
No matter how big or small the problem is, no matter what planet you're from.
And Zenson talks about like these hover trucks breaking down, energy grids going
There are some
haywire.
universal problems.
It's weirdly familiar, right? But his whole thing is that just like us Earthlings, his fellow Zensonians, they jump to conclusions
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
before they even really understand what the problem is.
It's so easy to do, right?
Yeah.
And Zinsen really drives home this point. You got to ask why, and then keep asking it.
Well, a lot of whys.
Yeah, like an almost annoying amount until you get to the root cause. Like he uses this example, say I don't know, your food delivery is late, right?
Okay. Relatable.
It's so easy to blame the delivery person or the traffic.
Yep.
But Zenson would be like, hold on. Why was the delivery person delayed? Was the route planned poorly? Was there some system error that messed up the order in the first place?
Oh, so it's not just about treating the symptom.
Exactly. It's about finding that root cause, the real issue.
So no more blaming space gremlins then.
No, no space gremlin.
Okay, got it. But how do we actually do that? How do we channel our inner Zenson and find that root cause?
Well, he's really big on avoiding this like hammer and nail approach,
Okay.
where you assume that every problem's the same and you can just hit it with the same solution.
Right, right.
Think about a time where you were so sure you knew what was wrong,
Oh, all the time?
but then it turned out to be something completely different.
Oh, don't even get me started. I once spent a whole week convinced my oven was broken.
Oh no.
Turns out I just hadn't flipped the right switch on the fuse box.
It's so easy to do. We see
Yeah.
what we expect to see, not what's actually there.
It's tr-
Zenson wants us to slow down, question those assumptions, and really dig deeper.
Got it. So be more mindful, less automatic.
Exactly. That's how you avoid those ineffective solutions, by actually understanding the problem.
Okay. So that brings us to hypotheses, right? Which Zenson gets kind of hyped about in the book.
Yeah, a little.
Like he's discovered some secret alien wisdom.
Right.
He even calls them smart guesses at one point.
Well, I mean, he's not wrong.
True, true.
It's about moving from what's the problem to why might this be happening.
Okay.
It's bringing structure to the chaos of problem solving.
So instead of assuming the hover truck is like possessed by a disgruntled AI,
Right, exactly.
we need to come up with explanations we can actually test.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what I find so interesting is that for all his advanced tech, Zenson doesn't overcomplicate things. He breaks down hypotheses into something super straightforward.
He really does. He's like, make it specific, focus on one thing at a time, and make sure you can measure the outcome.
It's refreshingly practical. Like he uses those hover trucks as an example again. So a bad hypothesis would be something vague like,
Yeah, let's fix the hover trucks.
right, exactly, like improve hover truck maintenance. Okay, but hey, Zenson's example is if we increase engine inspections by 15%, we'll see a 5% drop in breakdowns.
Okay, so way more specific.
Right. Measurable,
Yeah.
testable.
Got it. But here's where I get a little stuck. Zenson's obsessed with data.
Oh yeah, he's big on data.
And it's like you'd think a planet with teleportation and who knows what other tech, they just, I don't know, intuit the answers or something.
You'd think. Right. But he spends a surprising amount of time on what he calls fuzzy alien logic. It's like he's saying, look, even with the coolest gadgets in the universe, you still need good old-fashioned logic.
It really makes you think, are we missing out on the basics because we're so focused on the next shiny thing?
Maybe?
So even on Planet Z, it's show me the numbers.
Basically.
Okay, so what kind of data are we talking here? Do I need to like go back to school for astrophysics to understand this?
No, not at all. Zenson breaks it down into really relatable stuff. He talks about looking at historical records, like in his example, those hover truck maintenance logs,
Right.
and then talking to the people involved, getting firsthand accounts.
Oh, so like if the hover truck drivers are saying the engines always overheat on Tuesdays,
Exactly. And then he even mentions real-time monitoring, which is something we're seeing more and more of even here.
Oh, for sure. So if I'm using myself as an example here, and I'm just going to put this out there, if my hypothesis is that I'm always late because I'm addicted to my phone in the morning.
Okay, I think a lot of us can relate to that.
Right. Instead of just saying I'm bad at time management, I should actually track how much time I'm spending on my phone.
Data, my friend. It's
Mhm.
all about the data. That's Zenson 101 right there.
Okay, so I've got my data. Maybe it confirms my suspicions. Maybe not. Now what? Time for the solutions, right?
Exactly. We've defined the problem, tested our little alien hearts out, now we need solutions. But here's the thing. Zenson, Mr. Advanced Alien Tech himself, he keeps it surprisingly grounded.
So no planet scale thought transference to just fix everything instantly.
No, unfortunately, no. I know, right? You'd think. But Zenson's big on practicality. Solutions should come from the data itself, not wishful thinking.
Okay, so even aliens have to deal with budgets and like logistics and stuff.
Right, even on planet Z, resources are finite. He's a big believer in exploring every option and then, really evaluating them based on the data.
So how do they choose the right solution? Because even with all the data in the world, there's got to be multiple ways to approach a problem, right?
Oh, absolutely. And that's where it gets interesting. Zenson is all about testing, even when a solution seems obvious.
Wait, really? Even if the data is like, this is the way to go.
Yep. He says it's better to find any flaws before you roll something out on a massive scale.
So no snap decisions that impact the entire planet.
Not if Zenson can help it. He actually uses the analogy of a controlled explosion to make this point, which I thought was kind of funny.
Okay, I was not expecting explosives in my alien problem solving guide, but go on.
He's basically like, better a small boom in a controlled setting than risking a planet-destroying blast by rushing in.
Okay. Uh, I can see where he's coming from. So test, learn, adjust all before unleashing things on everyone. How does that actually work on Planet Z, though? Do they have, like, testing zones or something?
It's kind of like that. Say they're trying a new traffic system for their flying cars. Instead of doing it planet-wide, they might pick a smaller city to test it out in. Gather data, see if anything unexpected happens.
Like a beta test, but for, intergalactic traffic.
Exactly. And Zenson's big on embracing those little failures during testing, those unexpected outcomes. He sees them as opportunities to learn and make the solution even better.
So those control explosions, they're actually a good thing.
Exactly. They're valuable. You get to make the solution even stronger.
Okay, so they've run their tests, blown a few things up in the name of progress.
Yeah.
What happens next? Do they just flip a switch and boom, planet-wide solution? I mean, part of me thinks, yeah, they've got the tech. Why not just hit the deploy button?
Right. But Zenson, he's got a whole chapter on implementation plans.
Okay.
And it's about taking these big, complex solutions and breaking them down into smaller, manageable steps.
So still no grand unveiling ceremonies with levitating fireworks and planet-wide telepathic messages?
I know, right? You'd think that's how they do it on Planet Z.
Ah,
But Zenson's very practical. He says use those resources for things like clear communication, timelines, training materials. He even talks about planning for things that could go wrong, like having backup plans.
so even with all that amazing technology, they still got to sweat the small stuff.
Absolutely. He actually says it's even more important when you're talking about changing things on a huge scale. Like, he uses their planetary energy grid as an example. They wouldn't just change how energy works for everyone all at once.
Right.
It's got to be a process.
Makes sense.
You got to have people talking to each other, making sure everything's working like it should.
Okay, that makes sense, yeah. But once the solution is in place, once it's actually happening, is there still a need for all that data and analysis? Or do they just trust that they got it right?
That's actually what makes Zenson's approach so different, I think. He's all about constant monitoring and feedback, even after the solution is out there.
Really? So it's never really over.
He says no solution is ever truly finished. There's always room for improvement.
So it's not about being perfect, it's about being willing to adapt.
Exactly. It's about creating a system that can change as things change.
Huh. That's a pretty profound takeaway from an alien problem-solving guide.
Yeah.
So after all this talk of hover trucks and intergalactic energy grids, what's the one big thing we should remember?
I think it's that problem solving is a journey. It's not just a destination. It's about being curious, questioning your assumptions,
Right.
and remembering that even aliens make mistakes.
Yeah. And maybe we should all be a little more like Zenson and his data-driven approach to, well, pretty much everything.
It's good advice no matter what galaxy you're from.
It really is. Well, on that note, I think it's time for us to power down our teleportation devices, or at least double check that we entered the coordinates correctly.
Definitely a good idea.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep because you never know what you might find.